Hey everybody, I am Scott Stanton, the original Tombstone tourist, and I am in Charlotte, North Carolina on this crisp, freezing cold morning here in the fall. And who do we have here? We have none other than Randolph Scott, famous Hollywood actor, a lot of westerns. He was super famous in the 50s, and he is actually from Charlotte. So what's his backstory? Well, Randolph here, upon graduation from high school, and by the way, he comes from a very, very wealthy family. The Scott name is big here, and this whole area here is filled with Scotts. Not the Scott, but the Scott family. And they were a very wealthy family, very well-to-do. And when he left high school, he went into the Army. And he served his country in World War I for 2 years, and he came back. And he tried his hand at higher education, went to a couple of colleges, didn't really work out for him, so his dad said, hey, come work with me as an accountant. Wow, what a deal. Very shortly after, he says to his dad, you know, accounting is not that exciting. I'd like to be a Hollywood actor. And he said, great. You know, I'm a wealthy guy. I'm gonna write my good friend, producer, millionaire, Howard Hughes in Hollywood and see if he can get you into a picture. So he wrote a letter and he sent it off and he got a reply back from Howard Hughes and said, yes, send your son out and I'll put him in the pictures, because that's how everybody gets their start in Hollywood. So he goes out there with a friend. He sticks it out for a couple of years. His friend comes back, and he made 4 or 5 silent movies and whatnot, early films. And he even starred across from Gary Cooper and John Wayne, people like that, you know. So, but he was in the background, okay? So one day, Cecil B. DeMille comes to him and says, you know, Randy, you can't act your way out of a paper bag. Why don't you go down to Pasadena Playhouse, get some plays under your belt, learn some acting chops, and come back. So he did that. He was only gone for maybe a year or two, did 4 or 5 plays, and he got rave reviews, and they came back and they signed him. Paramount Pictures signed him to a $400 a week contract, and that is about $9,000 a week in today's money. He's doing really good. So he acted about 3 or 4 more pictures, and next thing you know, he is a leading man the rest of his life. So from 1928 up until about 1962, that was the length of his career. 1950 to 1953, he was the #1 box office draw. He never won an Academy Award, never won an Emmy, never did daytime TV. He virtually won no awards except for a few cowboy awards, you know, for all his work in feature films. And he did about 100 films, 60 of them were westerns, and the rest were a smattering of spy movies and adventure and comedy. But, you know, at 6'2", tanned, lean, rested, ready, boy, he was a good-looking guy, and that's what drew all the crowds to the box office. When he retired in the early 60s, he lived to be 89. He was retired for about 2 decades. He was an avid golfer, belonged to the Beverly Hills Golf Club. He was a part owner in another golf course that he designed, and he just lived the high life. And part of that reason was he could afford it, because he was worth $100 million upon his retirement, which is about $280 million in today's money, making him probably, at that time, the wealthiest Hollywood celebrity. He died in his Beverly Hills home. He was brought back here, and he's buried here with his second wife, Patricia, and they adopted 2 kids, a girl and a boy. Christopher is still alive today. Now, let's talk about his personal life. So if you Google Randolph Scott, you're going to get 50 pages asking, was Randolph Scott gay? There's no way around it. That is the #1 topic about Randolph Scott. Not what a great actor was or how successful he was. Everybody wants to know if he's gay, and frankly, I don't care. But let's talk about it since everybody else seems to be talking about it. So, let's start with, where did that rumor come from? When Randolph Scott was acting, just starting out, one of his early films was with Cary Grant, and they clicked. They were like best buddies. They were playing cards between sets. They were going out having dinner together, and then a lot of times they'd bring their women folk with them. And between marriages, they lived together on and off for 12 years. And there was a lot of beefcake pictures taken of them, like this one. So people like Hedda Harper, Luella Parsons, Richard Blackwell, the guy did the top 10 worst dress list. These bottom-feeding, scum-sucking maggots, their whole job was to tear people down and expose them and ruin their careers, and that made them feel powerful because they were losers. Okay, these are gossip columnists that have absolutely no function in this world. They started that whole rumor about they're gay, they were seen here, they were seen here. Yeah, no, that was absolutely false at the time. In fact, if you talk to Cary Grant's daughter, who's still alive today, she said, you know what, if Cary Grant was gay or bisexual or had lovers on both sides, I'd tell you. I'd go, absolutely, you know, he loved his life and people loved him. She had nothing to hide, but she goes, there's no evidence. I don't see it anywhere. You know, there you go. And the family of Mr. Scott here, they said basically the same thing. They used stronger language that would give me an R rating in this, but, you know, they said absolutely no proof. You know, he's been gone for 30-some years, no proof. But that rumor persists today. So Vanity Fair, and if you come to our website, thetombstonetourist.com, I posted the Vanity Fair article. It's like 6 pages long. It delves into their entire history together and whatnot. And at the end, they basically said, meh, you know, they lived together, they had fun together, they went on vacations, both with their spouses and by themselves. You know, not really. The only thing that you could ever construe that maybe there was that type of relationship was Cary Grant said, I loved Randolph Scott more than he loved me. That's all he said. And you can construe that to being that Randolph Scott didn't swing that way. He just really liked being around Cary Grant. And frankly, so would I. I'd hang out with Cary Grant 24/7. But if you want the entire story about his career and movie clips, so you can judge how good of an actor he was, but he sure drew the box office in the 50s and 60s, come to my website, thetombstonetourist.com, and I'll have directions exactly how to find this grave. But all you have to do is drive around this old cemetery, look for the giant Wilkinson monument that you saw earlier, and he's right behind that, about 20 feet off the road. Hey, I'm Scott Stanton. Thanks for hanging out with me, and thanks, Randolph Scott, for hanging out with us. It's been a pleasure, and I'm going to go back in the car and get warm. Thank you.